Hi creatives and welcome back to Agency Academy. Today we're going to be talking about one of the topics that I think is perhaps the most requested topic when it comes to running your agency and becoming your own business owner, and that is how to price your creative services. It can feel really intimidating, it's kind of a trial and error process. But today, if you're interested in finding out how to price your services, I'm going to be talking you through how to figure out, through an actual method, what you should be charging for your designs. The first thing that you want to figure out when you're doing pricing for your design services are if you want to do value-based pricing or if you want to do hourly pricing. Now there's a couple pros and cons to each of these, so I'll just quickly cover those. Value-based pricing just means that you're charging some sort of fee per project or per deliverable that is based on the value that you're adding to your client's business, rather than the hours that you're putting in. So this is something that I really prefer because oftentimes what you're doing when you're working with a business is you're creating something that is not just an item that they can use right now, but it's actually something that they will use, let's say a logo design that they will be using for 20 years from now. So think about how what you're doing is adding value to your client's business. And if you have something like that, think about the types of clients that you're working with. Sometimes you might be working with a mom and pop shop and they might have a smaller budget, and the impact of them having the right or the wrong choice in their designs might not be that high impact. But when you're working with, let's say, a Fortune 500 company or even just like an existing bigger company with a client base, them making the wrong choice for which logo to pick, that can have a huge impact on their business. So by doing value-based pricing, you're kind of taking into consideration both the value that you're adding long term, but also the risks that are involved in the project if something goes wrong. So this is saying, looking at the whole project, this is what this design or the skill that I'm bringing to the table as a consultant, as a designer, as a creative, is going to be worth to the client who's paying the bill. With hourly based pricing, you are essentially saying that I think this project is going to take this long and I think that I am worth this much per hour. The only downside with hourly pricing that I'm seeing is, one, it kind of makes you a pair of hands that is completing a task rather than a consultant. And also, of course, it kind of opens up this whole discussion of why are you worth X per hour? So it's almost like opening up a can of worms to negotiation, which I mean, personally in my career, I found quite unhelpful. So I really do prefer value-based pricing. There's lots of discussions about these two different ones. The downside to value-based pricing that I found is that when you have hourly, it's very clear that you can say, I worked this many hours on this project. When you do value-based pricing, if there's a little bit of scope creep and your contract is not waterproof, or you're not being, really persistent saying, no, actually this is out of scope, it can be easy to kind of go from that one project fee you agreed upon to it not becoming quite profitable because of scope creep. So that's just something to keep in mind. So the way that we're going to be calculating your prices today, you can do it as either value-based pricing or as hourly pricing, and it will work just as well. And I'll explain and walk you through that as well. Because this is a business decision, the first thing that we want to do is actually look at the costs that you have in your business. So here's an example of what your monthly expenses might look like. I did it monthly because most people take salary once a month, so it makes it a little bit more helpful. But there are going to be some things like perhaps your computer or your insurance that are not charged monthly but that are charged yearly, or maybe your investment in your computer might be something that you're investing in every 3 or 5 years. We still want to make sure we actually add it to our budget though, because we don't want anything to be a surprise or be eating into our profits. So also think about adding things that might be easy to forget, like money for education. So if you want to keep on learning, you might want to buy some courses. Things like company growth, so maybe some money for marketing, or for things like printing business cards or attending conferences. And also, of course, very importantly, you want to make sure that you really think about all of the different taxes you need to pay, and also including somewhat of a buffer in your expense calculations as well. I've added salary to this one, but that's something that, of course, is what we're calculating today. So you can put in a preliminary number if you like, Or if you like, you can leave that for now and we can just look at that a little bit later. The second thing we need to consider is how much of your work week is going to be consisting of billable hours. And so when I say that, I mean that as you're running your business, you're going to have to do marketing, accounting, business strategy. You have to do all these different things that are not necessarily time that you can bill your clients for. So we need to consider how much of our time is billable hours and how much of time is going to be business strategy and business management. And then that will help us decide, based on our costs and based on how much we need to take home, is going to decide how much we need to charge per hour or per project. In my experience, about 50-50 of billable hours and business work is kind of a good balance, because I know that it might sound like you want to put like 90% on billable hours, but you also want to make sure that you really have that time to develop your business, get better, learn new skills, do all of your accounting and all of your books so that you're actually saving time and money that way. You want to have time to work on your process and all these different things that make you a better business person and a better creative. So once you know your costs in your business, how many hours you have every month to actually charge for, so billable hours every month, and you know how much you need to take home according to how much you need for salary, for different expenses like healthcare if you live in a country where you need health insurance. If you're then doing value-based pricing, or even if you're just doing a project fee, what you want to do is you want to estimate how long this project is going to take you, and then see how many hours that is, times it by your hourly rate, and all of a sudden you have the project cost. If you're doing value-based pricing, you also want to take into consideration all of the things we've been talking about before. So things like, what is the value that you're adding to the business? What's the size of the business? What's the risk that you're taking? And then add that as a kind of margin on top of things. Always make sure that you have a little bit of a margin, even if you're charging by the hour, because things can always take a little bit longer than you were thinking. People can take longer to get back to you, or maybe you just made a mistake in your calculation and actually, you don't have that much time to work billable hours. So this is going to be a trial and error process, but try to find, using these calculations, what works best and then put a little bit of margin on top. The next thing that you can factor into your pricing strategy is your experience. Because if you have tons of experience, you're starting this business after maybe working in creative industries for the past 15 years, of course you're going to be faster at completing a job, so your hourly rate should be higher. You might be giving more expertise or, bring more skills to the table. You have experience with foreseeing problems that you could help your client with before it even comes up. So of course, if you have more experience, then your hourly rate or your value-based pricing price can go up. The easiest way to start seeing this and comparing if you're sort of on track with what the market price is for your type of industry is to look at these summary reports that have been done, because there's lots of research that looks into what the average salary for people in different industries with different experience levels, what the average for that is. So what we can do now is we want to make sure that our salary that we're taking out is appropriate for our experience level and the country that we're in, the market that we're in, and that we're not just like undercutting other people or, not undervaluing ourselves. So what we can do is we can look at the calculations that we've done. So let's say that you calculated that your hourly fee should be $50 per hour. Now, you might have also calculated that the number of billable hours is about 50% of your work week, so 20 hours a week. That would give you 20 hours times 4 weeks and times $50 an hour. So that gives us $4,000 a month that we can bill. Now, we also have to consider our expenses. So if, let's say, your expenses were $2,000, that means that your average salary per month that you can take out would be $2,000. So then you can compare that to the different statistics that you can find. So I'm putting links in the description for a couple of them. They are mainly UK based, but some of them are a little bit more all-rounded in terms of countries. And so you can have a look there and see, how does $2,000 a month compare to competitors, to people with different experience levels and people who have the same experience level as me. Before we end, I just really want to highlight that you really should be respecting your time and valuing your own creative services, because it's so common in our industry to feel very insecure, have imposter syndrome, feel like you just want to get the project and you don't want to overcharge. But really do respect your time, because the last thing we want is for different creatives to just undercut each other's prices. That is not helping you, it's not helping anyone in the industry. And so make sure that you're actually charging what you're worth, charging something that is an industry price and a market value price. And if you feel unsure, even after this video, you can put suggestions in the comments for what you think you would be charging. And of course, it also depends on the market that you're in. Companies in different countries have different expenses, and so that's why we did that calculation in the beginning. We want to have a living wage for you, not something that you just get by on, but we want to make sure that you actually can enjoy work and that money doesn't become the main factor for you in your business. If you enjoyed this video, I think you would really like our series on how to grow your own creative business, and it's a 4-part series, so I'll link that here. If you also found this helpful, we give out videos once a week, so make sure to like this video, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, and you'll get notified every week when we have a new video. Good luck with your creative business, and speak soon. Bye!